Before we get started, there will be potential spoilers in the video to come. Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be ranking each member of the Gotei 13. This list is completely subjective, so you may disagree with some of my picks. I'll be ranking them based on design, their zanpakuto/bankai, and overall how I feel about each character. I'll be doing videos based on the different factions in Bleach, so some characters may overlap. Also, my pronunciation of some characters might just be god-awful, so I apologize in advance. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it. To start out the list, we have Kisuke Aizen. He has always been one of my favorite characters in Bleach. He is the catalyst for so many of the events that happen within this story, like the Turn Back the Pendulum arc, the Nothing But the Rain flashback. He's also part of one of my favorite fights between him and Ichigo. And his zanpakuto, Koika Soigetsu, is one of the most busted zanpakuto ever. Basically distorting the perception of anything and anyone that sees his blade. It is just one of the most overpowered abilities ever. And his design overall is fantastic. He is just such a fantastic character. He might be one of my favorite villains in all of anime. Next up, we have another one of my favorite characters of all time, Byakuya. From the moment I saw him, I fell in love with his aesthetic. I love the way he looks as well as his incredible zanpakuto Zenbon Sakura. He is part of some of my favorite fights within this series, like his iconic fight with Ichigo during the Soul Society arc, his fantastic fight with Tsukishima during the Fullbringer arc. He also has an incredible character development during the 1,000-Year Blood War, where he's in the wall after being struck down by his own bankai, and he asks Ichigo to help him save the Soul Society. It is one of my favorite moments from the entire arc, and his character development throughout the entire series is just fantastic. I absolutely love Byakuya. Next, we have my favorite female character in all of Bleach, Yoruichi. I absolutely love her personality. I love the way she interacts with a lot of the different characters, like her hilarious transformation with Ichigo, and the way she interacts with Byakuya during the Turn Back the Pendulum arc. She's also a mentor to a lot of those characters. She trains Soifon as her time as captain. She teaches Byakuya Shadow Step alongside a lot of different techniques during the Turn Back the Pendulum arc. And she also helps Kisuke train Ichigo during the Soul Society arc. And she also has an amazing fight during the 1,000-Year Blood War arc against Naklevar. Overall, she is just a fantastic character. There's so many moments that I love. Every time Yoruichi shows up, it's always a great scene. Next, we have Ginrei and Kiganjo Kenpachi. These two are seen during the Turn Back the Pendulum arc, and they honestly don't really do a whole bunch. So honestly, I'm just going to put them in the question mark tier because we don't really get to see anything of them. Next, we have yet another one of my favorite characters, Kisuke Unohana. I absolutely love his aesthetic as well as his great laid-back personality. His zanpakuto is also really cool. The cane sword that he uses is such a cool design, as well as the fantastic bankai reveal during the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. He also plays a key role in almost every single arc, like the Soul Society where he trains Ichigo to achieve bankai, him sealing Aizen after Ichigo and Aizen's final battle during the fake Katakura town. He also has his own flashback where we learn about his past, which is incredible. We also have him get Ichigo his powers back at the end of the Fullbringer arc. He's just an MVP during every single arc. He is just a fantastic character overall. Next up, we have Isane. Isane becomes a captain at the end of this series after the events of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. And unfortunately, we don't really get to see much of her even prior to that. We don't really get to see much of the 4th Division as a whole. I like her design overall, but other than that, she doesn't really do a whole lot. So for now, I'm gonna put her in meh. Next up, we have Mayuri Kurosuchi. When I first saw Mayuri, I thought this character was so weird. His fight between Uryu during the Soul Society arc, I was completely taken off guard on the way this character acts. And honestly, I didn't really like him a whole bunch. But as the series progressed, I started liking him more and more. Like, his fight between Xyloporo during the Wikumundo arc was fantastic. His fight between Pernida during the Thousand Year Blood War arc, amazing. I also like during each arc how his design changes. I think it's a really good touch to his character. And I absolutely love his sadistic nature of how he acts. You can see just how crazy this guy is with his zanpakuto Ashisogi Jizo and all the body horror that Kubo puts into his character. And I absolutely love, as a mad scientist, how ever evolving he is. And honestly, I think he's a great character. Next up, we have Rukia Kuchiki. I absolutely love the role Rukia plays within this story. She helps the audience and Ichigo get introduced to the world of Bleach. She is such a fantastic catalyst to kick off the story, and the way that the Soul Society starts by her getting taken back to Soul Society by Byakuya and Renji. It's just such a great driving force for the entire arc. And I absolutely love some of the key fights that she's in. Like her versus Arniero during the Wako Mundo arc. And quite literally one of my favorite episodes / fights during the Thousand Year Blood War between her and Azadon. That entire episode is just fantastic. And Rukia's bankai reveal is one of the most gorgeous bankais ever. I just love the way that that whole entire episode was animated. Overall, Rukia is just such a great character. She finally becomes captain by the end of this series, and I feel like it was slowly building towards it and building her confidence all the way through the series. Her character development is just great. Next on the list, we have Rose, and he'll be the first good tier. Overall, I think his fighting style is really cool. His zanpakuto is basically like a golden whip called Kinshara, which I think is really cool. He has the aesthetic of like a conductor / music, which I also think is a really cool design choice. And his bankai revealed during the Thousand Year Blood War arc is magnificent. I think it's such a cool bankai. Unfortunately, it also leads into his defeat by him straight up telling Maste Masculine exactly how his bankai works, just for Mask to rupture his own eardrums, not being able to hear the music, so he's able to just shoot a star right through Rose. And it's so unfortunate because overall I think he's a pretty good captain, but honestly that defeat kind of puts him here by itself. Next, we have yet another one of my favorite characters, Shunsui Karaku. Aesthetically, I absolutely love the way he looks. From his straw hat to his pink kimono, as well as the meaning behind the kimono. I also love the way his zanpakutos are designed, the two swords that he wields, as well as the incredible bankai that he has. During his fight between him and Lilibero during the Thousand Year Blood War arc is just an amazing fight. That overall episode is just fantastic. He also has another great fight during the Fate Katakura Down between him and Stark. I love the way that fight plays out, and as well as the utilization of his zanpakuto in the children games he can play with that. Overall, Shunsui is just a fantastic character. Next up, we have everybody's favorite powerhouse from the 11th Division, Kenpachi Zaraki. I absolutely love the implication of him entering Soul Society, killing the previous Kenpachi in one hit in front of all of the 11th Division, and them just promoting him to captain with no Shikai or Bankai or any training from the Soul Society whatsoever. he also has some of the coolest fights in the entire story, like him versus Ichigo, his fight between Noitora during the Wako Mundo arc, his incredible fights during the 1,000-Year Blood War, like him versus Unohana, Kenpachi versus Gremmy, and then him with the other captains fighting Gerard. Overall, I absolutely just love every fight that Kenpachi's in. He is just such a badass character. Next up, we have Soifon. I was never really into her as a character. In concept, I think she's very cool. She's the leader of the Stealth Corps in Division 2. I like her zanpakuto being like a 2-hit, like, little dagger. And honestly, my favorite thing about her is her bankai Jako Raikoben, a giant bazooka. In practice as an assassin, it's not really that practical, but nonetheless, I think it's pretty cool. She also has some pretty decent fights between Baragon during the Fate Katakura Town arc and against BG9 during the 1,000-Year Blood War. Other than that, I was never that into her character, so for now, I'm gonna put her in meh. Next, we have Ichigo's father, Isshin Kurosaki. I absolutely love the comedic moments and interactions he has with him and Ichigo. I think all of the interactions they have are absolutely hilarious, like him drop-kicking Ichigo on sight the moment he walks into any room of the house. And he also has an amazing moment during the 1,000-Year Blood War arc in the Everything But the Rain flashback, where he basically tells Ichigo about his past between him and his mother, and him going up against the Black Hollow that Aizen created. Overall, I think he's a pretty cool character. Unfortunately, outside of that flashback, we don't get to see him much as a captain, but he also plays key roles in other arcs as well, mainly to reveal certain lore about the Soul Society. Next up on our list, we have Kensei. I feel like Kensei has always been a middle-of-the-pack character for me. I don't really like him as much as like people in tiers above him, but I don't dislike him to be in any tier below good. I feel like he's just kind of middle of the pack. I also really like his zanpakuto, Tekken Kajikaze. I always thought it had a really cool name. I just wish it kind of did more. His notable fights in the series are also kind of meh. Like, he has a pretty good fight in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc against Master Masculine. But honestly, other than that, I feel like Kensei hasn't had a moment to shine. So, like, for me, he's just gonna be in the good tier. Next up, we have Sajin Komamura. Kind of the same thing as Kensei. I never was a massive fan of him, but I never disliked Komamura. I think his bankai is really, really cool. Tekken Mule has such a cool design. Basically manifesting into a giant samurai. It's just aesthetically so good. The only issue with it is where if the giant samurai takes damage, he also takes damage, and I feel like in every single fight that Komamura has, it happens. That weakness is just so apparent, where I feel like he doesn't get that many victories. I feel like within his major fights, like him and Hisagi facing off against Tosen, it's really good, as well as his fight in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, where he basically has that final pact with his leader and is able to choose or show his true form, and it sheds the armor and becomes that giant Oni. I think the bankai in general just looks amazing. But other than that, I feel like Komamura's always just been like a mid-level character for me. So for now, he's gonna be in good. Next on our list, we have Kaname Tosen. I absolutely love the way Kubo writes this character. From him carving out his eyes after seeing the atrocities of the world, to him basically taking his friend Zanpakuto and seeking out justice. And then after Aizen and Gin defect, he follows them and gains a resurrection that gives him sight, only to lose track of himself and his true motives, is absolutely fantastic character writing. I also love the fights that he's in between him and Kenpachi, as well as him versus Hisagi and Komamura. And overall, Tosen's design is just fantastic. He's just a great character all around. Next on our list, we have Ginichimaru. From his introduction, I have always loved this character. He had so many fantastic moments throughout the story, like his first encounter with Ichigo, his fight between Hitsugaya, then his rematch against Ichigo during the Fake Katakura Town arc, and who can forget his amazing moment of him trying to kill Aizen as they're about to enact the final part of his plan. And the overall story between him and Rangiku is just beautiful. And I also think his fighting style is very unique. His Kamashini no Yari is one of the most interesting zanpakuto. It takes the form of a small, short, like almost dagger that extends out unbelievably fast and retracts, basically shedding off poisonous fragments within whatever it hits. Overall, he plays the snake in the grass motif to a T. He is a perfect character in my opinion. He is one of my favorite captains of all time. Next up, we have Tensu Zaimon. He becomes a captain at the end of the series, right after the 1,000-Year Blood War, and honestly, we don't really see anything from him. Like, throughout the series, I can't even recall that many things that he's done. Overall, I just think he's a meh character / captain in general, so I can't even recall that many things that he does. But I think his zanpakuto is pretty cool. Next up, we have Love. He was the captain during the Turn Back the Pendulum arc, and kind of the same with Tensuzaimon and Isane and Soifon. I wasn't really that big of a fan of his character. I feel like we didn't get to see a whole lot of him. I do think his zanpakuto is really cool. I like the giant club that he uses, and his fight between him, Stark, and Rose I think is pretty cool, but other than that, he doesn't really do much, so I'm gonna leave him in meh. Next up, we have Toshiro Hitsugaya. Now this character is a fan favorite, and completely understandable. He gets so much screen time. He has a major battle in almost every single arc he's a part of. He has an amazing fight between Ginichimaru in the Soul Society arc, his fight between Haribel during the Fake Katakura Town arc, Yukio in the Fullbring arc, Basby, Kangdu, and Gerard all during the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. He's just part of every single arc, and he has very impactful fights during every arc he's a part of. And overall, his design is just really cool. I really like his zanpakuto Hyorimaru. And his overall relationship with Rangiku is just great. He also is a lieutenant under Isshin during the Everything But the Rain flashback. There's so many amazing moments that Hitsugaya is a part of, and it kind of shows why people love him so much. There's so much that he's a part of. Next up, we have Shinji Hirako. I absolutely loved Shinji's design. From his appearance when he first showed up in the story, to the Turn Back the Pendulum look he has as captain, all the way to the look he has during the 1,000-Year Blood War. I just love the aesthetic of how Shinji looks. I also love his zanpakuto that allows him to distort people's perception of direction and the way he uses it against Aizen during the Fake Katakura Town arc. I also found his bankai reveal incredibly hyped during the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, because I wasn't sure if we were even going to get that reveal, because it was something from the light novels. Overall, I think Shinji is just such a great character from design and concept. Next up, we have Lisa. Kind of like the other people within this category, she becomes a captain at the end of this series. She doesn't have that many major moments besides her fights with Haribel alongside Hitsugaya, as well as all the Vizards and captains facing off against Aizen. Other than that, I think her character design is really cool. I also really like her zanpakuto. I think it looks pretty good. But overall, she doesn't really do much, and that's kind of why I'm putting her in the meh category. Next, we have Joshiro Ukitake. Now, Joshiro Ukitake I feel like has a very cool design. Unfortunately, he's held back by his illness that he has had his entire life. And the moments he does get to shine are him and Shunsui versus Yamamoto during the Soul Society arc, him and Shunsui versus Coyote Stark during the Fate Katakura Town arc, and in my opinion, his greatest moment is during the Thousand Year Blood War arc, where he uses the Mimihage to basically save the Soul Society after the Soul King was split in half. And the anime-only content we got within the Thousand Year Blood War arc shed a perfect light on his backstory and his relationship with the Mimihage, which I think overall is such a cool concept. And unfortunately, we don't really get to see a bankai from him, which I really wish we did. His shikai is pretty cool. It's kind of like Shunsui, how he has two swords and it kind of has like the ability to reflect attacks. Overall, I think Ukitake is a cool character. I just really wish he got more time to shine. Next, we have Old Man Yamamoto. Now, I always loved Yamamoto's shikai, Rujin Jaka. I always thought that his zanpakuto was so powerful. Granted, Aizen had to literally create Wonder Weiss just to defeat him during the Fate Katakura Town arc to put him out of the battle. But Yamamoto's greatest moment for me is his battle in the Thousand Year Blood War arc against Yuha. Him unleashing his bankai, Zanka no Tachi, was one of the coolest and greatest animated scenes that I've seen from Core 1. It was absolutely amazing, and it kind of made me respect Yamamoto as a character more. Even after his death, the impact he had during that one episode was so good, and that's why I'm putting him in the great category. Next, we have Unohana. Prior to the Thousand Year Blood War arc, just like Isane, I probably would have had her in the meh category. She didn't really do much during the main story. There was a couple moments where she showed up and had some pretty cool moments, but my lord, the reveal of her being the original Kenpachi and her letting her hair down, showing that scar that she has on her chest, revealing herself as the original Kenpachi, completely changed my view of her. Her fight between Zaraki training him to take her place as the one and true Kenpachi was incredible. It was an absolutely amazing fight that they had during the Thousand Year Blood War arc. And her bankai, Minazuki, is so cool. The fact that she has the power of like blood manipulation is just so sick. She is such a cool character. And to round out the list, I wanted to at least cover the original Gotei 13 that were revealed during the Thousand Year Blood War. Technically, they all should go in the question mark tier due to like us knowing quite literally nothing about them, but I wanted to at least rank them individually based on design. First, we have Yuhin Zenjoji. I think his design's pretty good. He looks absolutely menacing. Next, we have Batsu Unsai. Yeah. Next, we have Shigiri Shinjima. I probably butchered that name. I think his design's also pretty cool. He kind of reminds me of Rose. Next we have Chika Shihoin. His design's pretty cool. It's very unique. It definitely fits the Shihoin clan. Next is Danjiro. He kind of looks like a reskin of Isshin, but overall, not a bad design. We have Entetsu Kumai. I think his design's pretty good. He has the golden grill. He kind of has like a baton-looking zanpakuto. He looks pretty menacing. Next is Furoki Otagawa, which I like his design too. I like the straw hat that he has in his overall look. He kind of reminds me of Byakuya. He looks like he would be part of the Kuchiki family. Next we have Furofushi, which honestly, she might have my favorite design out of all the original Gotei 13. I don't know, something about it, I think her looks really cool. Maybe it's the eye patch. Next we have Kinroku. His design's pretty generic, pretty I think it's decent, not bad, not that great. It's just kind of generic. Next we have Saizo Sakahone. This dude is ancient. He literally looks like he would have been on the committee when the wheel was invented and sliced bread. But overall, pretty good design. And then finally, we have Nobutsu Ana. I probably also butchered that name, but his design's really cool. He kind of looks like he wouldn't even be a Bleach character, but he looks menacing. His design's really cool. And that's the list. Keep in mind that this video is completely subjective, so you may disagree with a lot of my picks. If you want to list your favorites in the comment section below, feel free. And my next video will most likely be going over the visors. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And now, kick it to that end screen.
Put me in a box, I be with my OGs, busting off blocks. I be going OT, got me going hard. You don't even know me, don't know who you are. What you gonna do? Posted with my rap friends, teach you how to boom. Put me on a fat head, never gonna lose. Eat it like I'm Pac-Man Jones, I'm a Bengal, I'm a motherfucking madman. What you